Tanzania, Mr. Jakaya Kikwete, the chairperson of the IEC, Mr. Glenn Mashinini, and commissioners of the IEC, the Chief Electoral Officer, Mr. Saima Mabulo, leaders of political parties who are present here with us, the Speaker of the National Assembly, Ms. Baleka Mbete, the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, ministers of our government at national level, premiers who are here with us, MECs who are here, and deputy ministers, ambassadors and high commissioners, and members of the diplomatic corps, members of the media, members and leaders of the Chapter 9 institutions, justices who are here with us tonight, fellow South Africans. 25 years ago, millions of our people exercised their democratic right for the first time to vote for the government of their choice. And in doing so, they set our country firmly on a path of freedom, democracy, and progress. The actions of the people who voted then in 1994 represented the fulfillment of a solemn pledge made decades before by the drafters of the iconic document, the Freedom Charter, which said, open quote, "No government can justly claim authority unless it is based on the will of all the people," close quotes. That first vote was a tribute to the heroic struggles that were waged in our country by successive generations of gallant women and men, to the hardships they endured and to the sacrifices that they also made as they were prepared to suffer so that we can be free. Today, 25 years later, we are here at the invitation of the Independent Electoral Commission to witness the announcement of the official results, as we have, of the 6th Democratic General Election. Having observed millions of our people across the length and the breadth of our country, casting their votes patiently, enthusiastically, and peacefully 3 days ago, we now have a greater appreciation of what President Nelson Mandela meant during his inauguration on the 10th of May 1994, when he said, open quotes, "Let freedom reign. The sun shall never set on so glorious a human achievement," close quotes. This election confirms that freedom and democracy does indeed reign in South Africa. And we are grateful for that. It gives us the assurance that our people are indeed the true custodians of our freedom and democracy. We pay tribute to the millions of our people who went to the polls to choose the public representatives who will champion their collective interests and aspirations and help them realize their shared dreams and common nationhood. Many of our people braved the rain, the cold, and various other weather elements, the wind included, to cast the ballots that will determine the future of our country. We just heard that many of them crossed rivers, swollen rivers at that, and climbed mountains and hills to go and cast their votes. And in doing so, they reaffirmed the vibrancy of our democracy in an environment of diverse opinions, where there was much contestation amongst various parties. After months of campaigning, where political leaders of all persuasions had their say, this week the people of South Africa have themselves had their say. We salute the elderly for coming out in their large numbers to vote, as they have done in every election since 1994. We were deeply saddened by the passing away of two of our elderly compatriots at the voting stations on Wednesday. We send our sincere condolences to the families and friends of Ms. Susan Matuna from Vanderbijlpark in Sedibeng, and Mr. Dirk Henry Osher from Elandspoort in Tshwane. We must honor their memories by deepening our democratic future and culture, and also defending with all that we have the right to vote. We applaud the young people of our country, especially first-time voters, who participated in the elections and took responsibility for their future and that of our country. I was encouraged to observe the hive of activity on social networks where young people were talking to each other, texting each other, and encouraging each other to go and vote. That should be applauded. We should be pleased that young people are taking such a keen interest in the life of their country. We do, however, need to say we want that keen interest to keep growing, because many more young people are still outside the fold of voting activity, and we want them to participate even much more than those who participated now. Our people have spoken, and they have done so clearly and emphatically. They voted for a united South Africa in which all may realize their potential. They voted for a more equal society, free from poverty, hunger, and want. They have voted for a country that they would like to see at peace with itself, with its continent, and with the world at large. We thank the staff and the leadership of the Independent Electoral Commission, who have had very little sleep over the past few days. We applaud you, and we thank you for the hard work that you've put in. We watched you on our screens, not every day, but every hour, every minute. And we kept wondering whether you will falter, whether you will weaken, or whether you will buckle under. We are grateful that you still remain standing. Thank you for serving our people with such great distinction. Often under difficult conditions, you conducted yourselves, both as a commission as well as the executive of the Independent Electoral Commission. You conducted yourself professionally, impartially, and with the dedication we have come to expect from this valuable institution. We pay tribute to the men and women of the South African Police Service and the South African National Defence Force for ensuring peace and stability during voting, and to the Home Affairs staff who ensured that as many voters as possible had their identity documents on election day. Thank you very much for all the hard work. I must put in a wonderful accolade for members of the police and the Home Affairs and indeed the Defence Force for after the floods that our country experienced, when we lost up to 70 people, many of the people who had lost their belongings, their homes, their houses, kept asking, President, will we still be able to vote? And we immediately said that yes, and we said the Home Affairs Office will be able to issue temporary IDs. I'm delighted to say that some of those people that I've been in touch with did testify to the fact that Home Affairs indeed, following those floods, did issue temporary ID documents that enabled them to vote. Thank you very much indeed. I also wish to extend my most sincere gratitude to the leaders and members of the various political parties that participated in the elections. In both your conduct and your words, you contributed significantly to the peace and calm which characterized the entire election season. Yes, there was a lot of contestation. There was a lot of exchange of wonderful words to each other, difficult words and harsh words to each other, but we were all in a contest. And I thank you for engaging in a most wonderful contest, and our people have now spoken, and all of us are called upon to accept the word and the will of our people irrevocably. I wish to thank all the observer teams, both local and international. And I want to thank the AU, African Union, for having requested President Kikwete to lead that team, and also for other entities like Aisha for having requested former President of Nigeria, President Goodluck Jonathan. President Kikwete, thank you very much for having come to our country to observe these elections. And thank you very much for the words that you pronounced. President Kikwete, who I saw earlier, said these elections were free and fair, but they were also legitimate. He added that adjective, and thank you very much for legitimizing our elections. I also wish to thank the media, which continues to play such a vital role in our democracy, and which was so important in ensuring that South African people were well informed as they went to vote. The media continues to play a pivotal role in the life of our country, and we thank them dearly, and we know that many of them did not sleep for much of the time. You are now granted presidential permission to go and sleep. What happens hereafter doesn't really matter. You can go and have a holiday and sleep for a number of weeks. We will get on with the work. Leave it to us. Lastly, I wish to thank the religious leaders of our country, of all faiths, who prayed for a peaceful election. You kept praying as all of us as leaders of our various political parties crisscrossed the length and the breadth of our country, you kept telling us that you are praying for our elections. And I also want to thank our traditional leaders who, as various leaders went through the length and breadth of the country, you gave them passage to go into the villages, into the places where our people live. We thank you truly for all that. I salute each and every one of you, and I thank you for making it possible for this election to be a resounding expression of the will of the people of South Africa. We can declare with certainty that democracy has emerged victorious in our country. Our people have given all the leaders of this country a firm mandate to build a better South Africa for all. Let us now work together, black and white, men and women, young and old, to build a South Africa that truly belongs to all who live in it, as proclaimed by our forebears as they drafted the Freedom Charter. One South Africa which is united, which is non-racial, non-sexist, democratic, and prosperous. Let freedom reign, and let democracy reign, and let the sun never set on so glorious a human achievement as the first democratically elected president of our country, Nelson Mandela, said. I thank you all.
Your Excellency.